How you doing, guys? This is Eric from secretoftheinternet.com and rulethewasteland.com. This video is about the first presidential debate that went off last night. As you guys know, I'm a supporter of Donald Trump, ready to make America great again, but this is my, as best I can, impartial analysis of what went down last night. Now, I'd spoken to a lot of people going into this. I don't know if I posted anything on this channel about it because I was traveling, had an awesome road trip for the past couple of weeks where I did 4,000 miles across the American West, going from Portland all the way down to Vegas area and back up, hitting 6 national parks, 11 states, and over 4,100 miles over 2 weeks. It's pretty awesome. I'll do some videos about that, but it did keep me from posting videos. But I was talking to people about this, about the debates coming up, saying that the Donald Trump victory was sort of already priced in. Everyone is expecting him to blow her out of the water in a lot of different ways, one of which was her feeble health and her, stamina. So he would have had to, for people to view this as a really resounding win for him, he would have had to outperform those expectations. Sort of like when a movie, you expect it to be really good. If it is really good, you're just like, it has to be exponentially better than that to come from you to have this impression that it was a really great movie. Whereas if you expect a movie to be terrible and it's just mediocre, you might actually feel like it was pretty good because your expectations were so low. So I think there's some of that at play here with the way that people are perceiving this debate. I do think that Trump came out and looked a little flat in the beginning. I think my guess is that, like I was saying, he had nothing really to gain from this debate. He was already expected to win. So if somehow the debate hadn't gone off, if Hillary couldn't make it because of health reasons, that would have been the best possible scenario for him, because he was already expected to win. So he would have had to win very dramatically for it to be perceived that he would, had to improve his stock, so to speak. And all she had to do was basically survive to maintain where she was at, because everyone didn't expect her to win anyway. So Trump came out, he actually appeared to be maybe fighting a cold or something. He was kind of sniffling. And I think Howard Dean tweeted that he was thought he was on cocaine or something, which is kind of weird and also ridiculous because Trump doesn't even drink alcohol. But anyways, Trump came out, was a little flat in the beginning. Hillary, to her credit, played the part of the polished politician and managed somehow to keep offense on Trump and had him playing defense most of the time. I don't know why he did this. He let her slide. It was just a decision on his part, a mistake if you ask me. But he let her slide on some wide open kill shots where she even set herself up for what could have been some really dramatic beatdowns. But instead he chose to try to explain himself because, there's these same accusations that Hillary's been bringing the entire time. And they're mostly ridiculous about the tax returns and stuff like that. Who gives a shit about your tax returns? There's way more information in the FEC filings than you could ever get from someone's tax return. And but instead he chose to try and explain that to people, which doesn't matter. He should have just brushed it off and didn't attack her on. He made one comment about the emails, which is great, but he should have just been hammering that the entire time. Played defense on the tax issues, paying less taxes, the people being, disgruntled past business partners, which I always thought was interesting. Hillary brought up the fact that, there's someone here in the audience who thought you gypped them in a business deal. And I'm like, seriously? You can't, have you ever, I know Hillary was fired from one of her only real jobs for ethical reasons, but if you've ever had a real job, you know that eventually your people are going to get disgruntled. You can't even make burgers at McDonald's for a couple hours or sell more than 2 or 3 things on Craigslist before coming across someone who thinks that you screwed them over somehow, even if you didn't do anything wrong. So the fact that this guy has been in business for 40 or 50 years in a very public profile in Hollywood, and these are the big scandals, is that you found some guy who thinks he was gypped in a business deal? Give me a fucking break. And on the meantime, you've got Hillary, who her husband was impeached, disbarred. She was fired from her first, or maybe not her first job, but one of her real jobs, her only real jobs. Multiple scandals, literal criminal activity, confirmed by the FBI. They just decided not to pursue it, but they came out and stated that she has actual criminal activity with the emails. Literal blood on her hands in Benghazi. And he lets her sit there and talk about some disgruntled guy architect because he thinks he didn't get paid enough. Ridiculous. There's no way he should have let that slide. And then they were talking about, he said something about she shouldn't have a presidential look, and he shifted to talking about her stamina. And she was like, "Oh, I have stamina. You haven't had to sit through a 10-hour congressional hearing." And he sort of just let that slide. I'm like, "Hey, lady, why? Why don't you explain why you had to go through a 10-hour congressional hearing? Do you think it's a good mark on you that you have the stamina to put up with all these FBI interrogations too? Is that something you're going to put on your resume? That look how much grilling I can take for government over my illegal activity. Man, I sure am tough." Absolutely ridiculous. So I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Overall, like I said, I would say that Trump probably still did win just because she really has nothing, and that comes through. But he just didn't beat the point spread, so to speak. So some people view this as being like, you know, they're disappointed. There's some people who are like kind of worried. I was speaking to someone who's a little bit worried, and I said, "Hey, look, you know, like maybe he doesn't have, he's not going to get enough support to really beat out the fraud element, so to speak. Like, we all know he's beating her in real votes if the election were taken today, but he has to also beat the rake, so to speak. I'm using a bunch of gambling terms in this, so you have to forgive me, which in the fraud rake, so to speak. So there's a certain percentage of the shenanigans that the Democrats are obviously going to do in the swing states, so he has to also overcome that. So he has to have a big enough margin, not just to win in a fair vote, but to win in a crooked vote, which I think he can do it. But some people were a little bit worried after that debate that he wasn't going to smash her. I'm like, look, what you just saw last night was literally the best case scenario for Hillary Clinton. She came out, didn't have any health issues during the debate. She had to rest up for 2 weeks for a 90-minute debate, but it apparently worked because now she didn't have any strokes or twitching or eyes going cross-eyed or anything, or coughing fit. She got lucky on that one, no coughing fit during a debate with no commercial breaks. So that all went well for her. She, you know, played the part of polished politician, you know, knew her talking points or whatever, managed to have Trump be defensive and not attack her in a bunch of areas that he could have easily destroyed her. So basically it went about as well as it could have for her, and he still won in almost every poll I've seen except for the CNN poll, which they even admitted in their own stats was 40+%, 45+% Democrats, 26 Republicans, and the rest independents. And oh my God, the Democratic candidate was viewed as winning in that poll. What a surprise. So that's kind of stupid. Another thing that I really thought was interesting was that, I forget what the exact comment he made. Oh, he said, you've been talking for these, I mean, you've had a chance in politics. You've been working in politics for 30, 40 years. Why are you just talking about, oh, now I know what to do. Now I've got these solutions. What have you been doing for the past 40 years? And I thought that was pretty good. And she said, she goes right to, the strong, empowered feminist woman goes right to, well, I think my husband did a pretty good job. And she almost like looks at the crowd imploringly, waiting for some applause. Like, yeah, Bill Clinton, we know we're just really voting for Bill Clinton. So I thought that was particularly pathetic and also hilarious, because she stands up there and says, oh, you said all these mean things about women and women this, and you're mean to women, and this is the first for women, I'm with her. And then the first time she gets pushed, she's like, yeah, well, my husband did a good job. Aren't we happy about that? The man I'm married to, that he did well? Pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Still, the feminist is the first one to jump on the lifeboat, as it turns out. But overall, like I said, I think Trump, at best, I think he won a split decision, to use a fighting term, and he just didn't beat the point spread. So some people view that as a loss or an underperformance. I think it went about as well as it could have for her and about as bad as it could have for him, and he still won. So going into the next debate, I don't think he's going to make that mistake. I think he was a little bit over-restrained by his camp. I think they're really worried. Like I said, it was already viewed that he was going to win. The only thing that really could have gone disastrous is if he went too over the top and was, you know, so I mean, I think they restrained him a much. I think he was physically a little bit under the weather. Obviously, he's not dying or something, but he just didn't feel good, sniffle. That doesn't help. I think it made him a little more grumpy and a little more prone to being angrily defensive, as opposed to just brushing it off and continuing to attack her. So we'll see what happens. We got 2 weeks to the next one. She needed 2 full weeks off, basically, to prepare for this debate, pump her full of whatever chemicals and medicines and shims and wire, whatever paper mache is needed to hold her together for 90 minutes, and she didn't even stay for questions afterwards. She immediately took off. And so she only has about 2 weeks till the next debate. So unless she's not going to do any campaigning in between now and then, she's going to have a much more difficult time sleeping in her Lazarus chamber, or whatever it is, she's bathing in virgin blood, or whatever it is she does to fix her meat suit between now and then. So I definitely think he will perform better, not only because of those reasons that are just stated, but now the bar has been set lower, so that's viewed as like the benchmark debate performance for a Trump versus Hillary debate. So if he actually comes out and attacks her, actually is aggressive, then she doesn't have a chance. So overall, I don't think that these results really change much. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are gonna go, switch sides if they were already on one particular side, and maybe the independents will be particularly swayed in either direction as well, because there wasn't like a disaster from either person, there wasn't like a massive triumph for either person either. So we'll see. Like I said, I think we'll see a lot of different results in the second one potentially, and that's coming up on the 10th, I believe, that weekend. I think it's a Sunday night, so the 9th through the 10th, I believe. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you later.